where the Delhi High Court has granted bail to Christian Michel James in the money laundering case related to Agusta Westland helicopter scam. Earlier, he was granted bail by the Supreme Court in the CBI case. That's a huge update that's coming in. And this is in regard with the Agusta Westland scam. Delhi High Court has now granted bail to Christian Michel. He wasn't accused in the Agusta Westland scam. We learned that the Delhi High Court has now granted bail to Christian Michel in the matter. This is in regard with the Enforcement Directorate case. Rhythm, my colleague, is joining me live from the newsroom on that. Yes, Rhythm, please take us through the crucial points that we need to know about the case.
All right. British arms consultant Christian James Michel, in the FIR registered by the ED, has now been granted bail by the Delhi High Court. 6 years he has spent in prison. The Agusta Westland scam, one of the biggest scams the country has seen, and I still remember that visual, a very famous visual, if our directors can pull it out, which our political editor Aishwarya Kapoor was seen following Christian Michel, asking him the question. Also one of the only people who followed Agusta Westland, even in Italy, where I remember that's the visual where Aishwarya followed him, tried to ask him a question about whether in fact he'd been a part of the scam. He also was, if I believe correctly, in Lugano, where he tried to question him and exactly understand what the scam was, a scam that rocked the UPA government. 6 years later, in that case, Christian Michel has been granted bail. We remember earlier in February, the Supreme Court also granted him bail in the CBI-related case. He's now getting bail in the ED case in the Delhi High Court. While bail was granted in the money laundering case, I'm going to give you details, viewers. Considering the period of incarceration of 6 years and 2 months undergone, the Supreme Court had granted him bail, and in the CBI case, the court's opinion had been prolonged incarceration of the accused of 6 years and 2 months had been there, and therefore more than 100 witnesses having been examined under PMLA, and therefore various judgments of PMLA also having been taken into ground. The court had said after being in custody for over 6 years and 2 months, the trial had not even commenced due to incomplete investigation. Article 21, the fundamental rights of speedy trial having not been followed. Passport had also expired, and more than 6 years having spent in prison, Christian Michel had been granted bail.
Right.
ED's counsel, even then, I think it is Zoeb, someone whom we'd spoken to, Zoeb Hussain, who had been representing the ED, they had submitted on twin conditions for bail had not been met in the case. However, Michel was earlier denied bail in both the cases in 2022, but now he has been granted bail. I beg your pardon, I think for Michel, advocates had appeared, Tanisha, but now bail has been granted. He's possibly going to be walking free after 6 years.
Right, Rhythm, if you can also take us through the charges that were pressed against him by the Enforcement Directorate in the Agusta Westland case.
Yes, money laundering charges under Section 45 and under the PMLA Act, a very serious act had been presented against him. In fact, what I'd also like to do for our viewers is to actually take us back to the Agusta Westland case. This was a case that we had covered very strongly. In fact, we had been at the very forefront of the Agusta Westland case and tried to expose the entire case, the entire 2013 helicopter bribery case, and that had shaken the entire country. We refer to this as the Agusta Westland case. It was the Indian helicopter bribery scandal by the Congress and the UPA government. It referred to the multi-million-dollar bribery corruption case in India, where money had been paid to middlemen like Christian Michel and others. It had been paid to Indian officials in 2006 and 2007 that had been paid to purchase helicopters for high-level politicians. As per the CBI, the amount was over 2.5 billion rupees. Transferred through bank accounts, and I remember this in UK and UAE. Our colleagues had gone to UAE to pursue the matter. They'd also gone to Italy. Like I said, our political editor Aishwarya had spent months in Italy at that time, and of course in Dubai as well. Other colleagues had gone. It came to light in 2013. We had pursued it when an Indian National Parliamentary investigation began into these allegations. It was called the Chopper Gate or the Chopper scam. Now Christian Michel walking free after 6 years.
Absolutely, Rhythm. Thank you very much for sharing those details. Christian Michel now granted bail This is in regard with the Enforcement Directorate charges that the ED had pressed against him in the Agusta Westland chopper case. Thank you very much, Rudam, for joining us on the broadcast.